Memphis rapper Pooh Shiesty is no longer in federal custody, according to his attorney.
Pooh Shiesty is officially back on the streets, and the internet is in total shock. Nobody saw this coming. The Memphis rapper just walked out of federal prison months before his expected release date, and fans everywhere are losing their minds. He was supposed to be locked up until April 2026, but somehow he's free in October 2025. That's a whole half year early. Now everyone is asking the same thing. How in the world did Pooh pull this off? Did he sign some kind of secret deal? Did the feds quietly change their tune? Or is there something much darker happening behind closed doors? The mystery is driving social media crazy. Let us rewind this wild ride and break it down from the top. How Pooh Shiesty went from one of the hottest rappers in the game to a federal inmate, and somehow flipped the script to walk out early when nobody expected it. Born Lontrell Williams Jr., but raised to be known as Pooh Shiesty, he came up from the heart of South Memphis, one of the roughest, rawest places in America. This isn't just some tough neighborhood. This is survival at its purest form. Kids grow up seeing gunfire before they even hit high school, and the sound of sirens becomes part of everyday life. South Memphis is the kind of place that breeds both legends and nightmares. Over 100 gangs operate across a city of barely 500,000 people. That is around 14,000 active members out there daily. It is a city where the line between fame and fatality is razor thin, and where respect can literally cost your life. You've got the Bloods, the Crips, and a whole maze of smaller Memphis sets, all clashing for dominance, block by block, night after night. In that city, even eye contact can be dangerous. Stare too long at the wrong dude, and it might be the last look you ever take. But Pooh Shiesty's story hits way deeper than your average street tale. His father, Lontrell Williams Sr., wasn't some random hustler chasing quick money. He was a rapper too, known around the South as Mob Boss. And he didn't just rap. He built his own empire, founding Mob Ties Records. That meant Little Pooh grew up right at the intersection of two explosive worlds, the rap industry and the street trenches, both pulling him hard in opposite directions. But in Memphis, the streets usually win first. Back in 2004, when Pooh was barely 4 years old, tragedy struck early. His father was arrested for being an accessory to the murder of a local radio DJ. Just 3 years later, the chaos hit again. Cops stormed their home, uncovering cocaine, weed, stacks of ammo, and 10 grand in cash. That raid led to trafficking charges, and once again, his dad disappeared behind bars. Imagine that. Before Pooh could even properly read or write, he'd already watched his father go down twice, once for murder, once for drugs. That kind of start doesn't build innocence, it builds instincts. Survival first, trust never. By the time he hit 11, that street DNA was already stamped deep into his bloodline. He caught his first robbery charge at just 11. Let that sink in. And the same year, he was expelled from middle school for allegedly bringing a gun to campus. Memphis authorities already knew his name before puberty even hit. When he turned 14, another arrest followed, though records were sealed since he was still a minor. His mother, desperate to save her baby from the streets swallowing him whole, tried shipping him to Texas, hoping distance could break the curse. But once his father came home, the streets called him louder than ever. Pooh was right back in Memphis like he never left, caught in the cycle that raised him, molded him, and refused to ever let go. Then came the turning point: music. Pooh Shiesty wasn't born chasing rap fame. He actually had his sights set on the court. Before the chains and the fame, he dreamed of becoming a basketball player. He was sharp, athletic, and believed hoops could be his ticket out of South Memphis chaos. But when the dream of making it to the league started fading away, something else began pulling him in. The mic. The rhythm, the stories, the pain. It all started making sense. With his closest friends, he built Choppa Gang, a crew that lived and breathed that gritty Memphis lifestyle. Raw lyrics, real stories, and zero filters. In 2018, Pooh linked up with his day one homie Big 30, and once they hit the studio together, it was magic. The chemistry was too real. They weren't just rapping, they were giving people a glimpse of what life in South Memphis actually felt like. And then came the explosion, 2019's Hell Night featuring Big 30. The video blew up instantly. Fans could feel every ounce of truth in his bars. No faking, no acting, just raw pain, pride, and power. Pooh wasn't just rapping about the trenches. He was the trenches. Every line, every beat, every glance into the camera screamed authenticity. And that S, when fate decided to kick the door open, Gucci Mane himself slid into Pooh SDMs. Picture it, one of the trap legends personally reaching out to a kid from South Memphis, who grown up surrounded by gunfire and sirens. It was the ultimate cosign, the kind of moment that could flip your whole life overnight. Gucci saw something real in Pooh, a reflection of the raw hunger that built 1017 from the ground up. From that day forward, Pooh Shiesty wasn't to just another underground name buzzing around Memphis. He became the face of modern trap, carrying that southern energy and street authenticity into a new era. But the thing about fame, it doesn't clean your past away. It just shines a brighter light on every shadow you ever left behind. This was the moment everything clicked for Pooh Shiesty, the kind of perfect storm most rappers only dream about. In Memphis, every up-and-coming artist had to make a dangerous choice. Roll with Young Dolph, S-Paper Root Empire, or align with Yo Gotti, SCMG. That rivalry wasn't just music beef. It ran through the streets like gasoline on fire. Picking the wrong side could cost you your career or your life. But Gucci Mane? He gave Pooh something nobody else could. A third lane, a clean escape from that deadly local war. When Gucci offered him a deal under 1017 Records, it was like handing him a golden ticket straight out of Memphis politics and into the big leagues. By April 2020, Pooh was officially part of the 1017 family under Atlantic Records, and from that moment, everything changed. His first real breakout came with Still Remember, featuring Gucci himself, and people started paying attention. Then he doubled down, dropping collabs with Lil Baby and of course his day one partner Big 30. But the record that completely flipped the game upside down, Back in Blood, featuring Lil Durk. That wasn't just a hit, it was an anthem. The track shot up to number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100, and the music video collected hundreds of millions of views like it was nothing. Overnight, Pooh Shiesty transformed from a local name with street respect to a full-blown national superstar, the kind of rapper everyone wanted a feature from, and everyone wanted to be around. But fame doesn't erase your past, it just puts it under a spotlight. As his fame skyrocketed, the chaos behind the scenes started boiling over. He had the talent, the label machine, the money, and the fame. But that deep street mentality refused to let go. Even with Atlantic checks rolling in, Pooh was still moving like he never left the block. The same instincts that helped him survive in Memphis were now threatening to destroy everything he built. Whispers started spreading about robberies, shootouts, and neighborhood beefs that never cooled off. It was like he was trying to live two lives at once, half rap star, half street soldier. And that dangerous balance was about to come crashing down hard. Pooh Shiesty's biggest downfall? The very Memphis politics he thought he'd escaped came storming right back for him. The city's drama doesn't forgive, and it definitely doesn't forget. Pooh had long-standing beef with EBG, a ruthless North Memphis crew that refused to bow down. When he dropped Back in Blood, he didn't just drop a hit, he dropped a direct shot at them. He bragged on wax about snatching their guns, calling them out with zero hesitation. That one line turned the song into a street declaration, and everyone in Memphis knew exactly who he was talking about. It didn't take long for EBG to clap back. Their rapper Jizzle dropped a Back in Blood remix, and that track turned into an all-out war cry. From the lyrics to the streets, the tension went nuclear. Not long after, EBG's E Grizzle got shot in the arm, and instead of letting things cool off, Pooh went online clowning him, posting that the dude couldn't even walk now. That single post sent shockwaves through Memphis. The streets were watching, the blogs were buzzing, and most dangerously, the feds were taking notes. All this chaos was unfolding while Pooh was sitting on a platinum record and signed to one of the biggest labels in the world. He had it all: fame, fast cars, money, jewelry, and more street respect than most rappers ever dream of. But behind that flashy lifestyle, he was still making moves straight out of the trenches. Moves that would soon cost him everything. The same street code that made him famous was about to destroy him piece by piece. Then came October 9th, 2020, the day that sealed his fate. Pooh rolled up to Bay Harbor Islands, Florida, in a rented McLaren, supposedly meeting up with two guys to buy some sneakers and weed. Sounds harmless, right? Just a flashy rapper handling business. But that meetup turned into a nightmare in seconds. Court documents later revealed that Pooh and two members of his Choppa gang crew arrived strapped and ready. At first, it looked chill. Handshakes, small talk, casual vibes. But then, out of nowhere, one of Pooh's boys pulled out a Draco, while another flashed a handgun. Within moments, bullets started flying. The scene turned wild. One of the supposed sellers got hit, but somehow survived the chaos. That single moment, those few reckless seconds, turned a routine deal into a federal armed robbery case that would haunt Pooh Shiesty for years to come. And this is where everything completely fell apart for Pooh Shiesty, like a movie gone wrong in real life. After that Bay Harbor Islands robbery, Pooh and his crew sped off trying to make a clean getaway. But fate had other plans. Somewhere in the chaos, Pooh accidentally dropped a Louis Vuitton bag stuffed with over $30,000 in cash. Yeah, 30 grand just lying there in the street. That wasn't just bad luck, that was self-destruction in designer fashion. When police arrived, they didn't just find a random bag. They found the smoking gun that would crack the whole case wide open. Investigators dug into the evidence and started asking the obvious question: where did all that money come from? And that is when Pooh's biggest weakness came back to haunt him: social media flexing. Detectives traced the serial numbers on the recovered bills and realized they matched the same exact stacks Pooh had been flashing all over Instagram. The same cash that looked good online suddenly turned into hard federal evidence. The feds literally built their case using his own posts. The bag, the bills, the selfies, all connecting perfectly. It was as if Pooh himself had written the confession in cash. When the case file hit the table, investigators basically said, "We got him." But the madness didn't stop there, because Pooh was already on thin ice before that robbery even happened. Just months earlier, on May 30th, 2020, he found himself in another wild situation, this time inside Miami's legendary King of Diamonds strip club. According to witnesses, Pooh was walking through the crowd holding thick stacks of money, showing off like usual, when a few bills slipped from his pockets and hit the floor. In seconds, the crowd dove in, grabbing at the cash. And that's when everything blew up. Pooh allegedly lost it, furious that people were touching his money. Security tried to escort him out, hoping to calm things down, but instead he reportedly pulled out a pistol and fired a shot, hitting a security guard in the leg. Cameras were rolling, witnesses were screaming, and that one impulsive moment turned a night of partying into a crime scene. Cops swooped in immediately, arresting him on the spot. And since he was already out on bond from that Florida shooting, the judge didn't hesitate. His bail was yanked instantly. Pooh Shiesty went from flashing bands in the club to facing federal time behind bars, all in the blink of an eye. By this point, Pooh Shiesty wasn't just another rapper caught in street drama. He had officially become a wanted man across state lines, with the full weight of the federal government breathing down his neck. His name was all over court dockets in Florida and Tennessee, and the same empire he built off street credibility and hit records was collapsing right in front of him. When that judge slammed the gavel and revoked his bond, the message was clear. No more studio sessions, no more flashy cars, no more freedom. Pooh was stuck in that cold federal cell until the trial was over. No exceptions, no appeals, no special treatment. And once the feds stepped in, the stakes skyrocketed. These weren't local charges anymore. This was the big leagues, where every move gets dissected and every sentence carries real weight. The feds hit him hard with a stack of charges: discharging a firearm during a violent crime, conspiracy, and robbery. If you know anything about how the federal system works, then you know they don't bluff, they don't bargain easy, and they almost never lose. Their conviction rate hovers around 95%. Once they lock in, it's practically guaranteed you're doing time. Pooh had played the wrong game with the wrong people watching. By 2022, after months of legal back and forth, Pooh made the only move left on the table. He took a plea deal. He pled guilty to the conspiracy charge, hoping to cut his losses before the system buried him alive. The court hit him with 63 months in federal prison. That's 5 years and 3 months. His official release date was stamped as April 25th, 2026. Most people would have taken that as a wrap, story over, fade to black. But somehow, against all odds, here we are in October 2025. And Pooh Shiesty is home, smiling, free, and already lighting up social media again. So what happened? How did he manage to beat the clock on federal time? Something that's almost impossible to shorten. Well, turns out, Pooh might have actually played the system smarter than anyone expected. Most people think federal time means you serve every single day, no questions asked. But that's not the full picture anymore. Over the past few years, new prison reform laws created loopholes and early release opportunities, and Pooh made sure to use every single one of them. First off, there's the Good Conduct Time Credit System. Federal inmates can earn up to 54 days off per year for good behavior, staying out of trouble, following orders, and completing assigned programs. It might sound small, but over 63 months, that's a serious chunk of time shaved off. But the real game changer was the First Step Act. This law opened the door for inmates to earn even more credit toward early release by joining educational and rehabilitative programs, stuff like job training, anger management, and GED classes. And sources inside say Pooh didn't waste a minute. He jumped on every opportunity, completing programs left and right. It wasn't luck, it was strategy. He did his time smart, not hard, and that discipline, mixed with new federal reform benefits, might just be the secret behind why Pooh Shiesty is already walking free while everyone else is still asking, how did he do it? According to Bureau of Prisons policy, inmates who show consistent progress, staying out of trouble, completing programs, and proving they can handle structure, can be transferred to what ES called a residential reentry center, better known as a halfway house. It's still technically custody, but it's a whole different world from prison. You get more freedom, family visits, a shot at working real jobs, and the chance to rebuild your life step by step before re-entering society. That's exactly what happened with Pooh Shiesty back in March 2025. After grinding through his sentence, completing his programs, and keeping his record clean, he got approved for transfer to a halfway house as part of his re-entry plan. The final stretch before full freedom. But then came the biggest curveball in his story, a new directive straight from the Bureau of Prisons. In early 2025, the BOP started fast-tracking early releases for qualifying inmates under updated reform guidelines. The government was under pressure to reduce overcrowding and fully enforce the First Step Act incentives. That meant anyone with good conduct, program completion, and a non-disqualifying offense could get their freedom sooner than expected. And guess what? Pooh Shiesty fit every box perfectly. Right time, right record, right moves. The system basically lined up in his favor. Now here's the detail most fans completely miss. Not everyone gets this kind of break. The BOP has a strict list of disqualifying crimes. Things like murder, sexual assault, and major drug trafficking will instantly take you off the eligibility list. Pooh's convictions, firearm discharge and conspiracy, were serious, but they didn't fall into that red zone. That small technicality opened the door for him to stack up time credits, qualify for halfway house transfer, and ultimately walk out months ahead of schedule. Still, this story wasn't all smooth sailing, not even close. Sources close to the situation say that after his March transfer, something went sideways. Reports are foggy, but insiders claim Pooh may have violated a halfway house rule or gotten caught in some administrative mix-up that temporarily landed him back in federal custody. Whether it was a curfew violation, a technical paperwork issue, or just institutional politics, It didn't last long. Whatever the hiccup was, Pooh handled it, stayed focused, and kept pushing toward that early release finish line. And now, as of October 2025, the paperwork is official. Pooh Shiesty is free. He managed to cut more than 6 months off his original sentence, walking out early with his head high and his name buzzing once again across social media. Some call it luck, others call it strategy. But either way, Pooh's early freedom came down to 3 things: discipline, calculated moves, and the perfect timing of new BOP policies that finally put re-entry over punishment. So what does this mean for Pooh Shiesty's career? That's the million-dollar question. The rap game moves fast. 3 years locked up can feel like a lifetime in this business. By the time most artists get out, the sound, the style, and even their fan base might have changed. But Pooh's story hits different. He's not coming home forgotten. He's coming home to a loyal fan base, a label that never turned its back, and a legend like Gucci Mane still standing firmly behind him. 1017. Records remains one of the biggest forces in trap music, and the streets never stopped bumping Pooh's old tracks. On top of that, rappers who do real time often come home with even more hype. Fans crave that "I lived this for real" energy. Pooh's release has already sent shockwaves across social media, with everyone waiting to see if he can reclaim his throne or if prison changed him for good. One thing's for sure, he's got a second shot, and the entire world's watching. Now that he's finally free, Pooh has got new stories to tell, and people want to see if he has learned anything or if he is about to dive back into the chaos that nearly ended his career. This is the real test. Did federal time open his eyes or just make him colder? Because let us be honest, Pooh didn't end up in prison for some mastermind plot. He went down for reckless, avoidable, flat-out dumb choices. He was robbing people while already getting legitimate checks from Atlantic Records. He was walking into strip clubs with guns, risking it all for ego. And worst of all, he was flexing online with the same money that tied him straight to a crime scene. Every move screamed success, but every decision screamed self-destruction. In the end, Pooh's story is the perfect example of how success and the streets can't coexist. You can have one foot in the music industry and the other in the gutter, because eventually the streets will pull you back down. He had it all: the talent, the deal, the hits, the fame, and the money. Everything a Memphis kid could dream of. But he couldn't shake that South Memphis mindset, that urge to prove he was still that same street dude, even after the world already crowned him a star. What's crazy is that both of the moments that destroyed Pooh Shiesty's freedom were totally preventable. None of this had to happen. If he had just stayed focused on his music, his money, and building his legacy, instead of trying to remind everyone he was still about that life, he'd be miles ahead right now. But that's the trap so many young rappers fall into, thinking they have to keep proving their street credibility after they've already made it big. They forget that the real flex isn't surviving the streets. It's escaping them. The biggest problem now, the feds are 10 steps ahead, and they're watching everything. Gone are the days when you could brag online without consequences. The feds are snatching evidence straight from Instagram stories, matching serial numbers from stacks of cash, and literally building entire federal cases out of flex videos. It's not paranoia, it's the new reality. Every post, every selfie, every caption can and will be used against you if you're not careful. The same platforms rappers use to show success are now being used by prosecutors to prove guilt. Hopefully, Pooh spent that time behind bars, really thinking about what matters. He's still young, still talented, and still has a real shot at rewriting his story. The fans haven't abandoned him, and Gucci Mane, along with 1017 Records, still believe in his potential. But staying free, that's the ultimate challenge now. Because let's be real, the streets don't forgive, and the feds don't forget. Both sides will be watching his every move, waiting to see if he learned his lesson or if he's about to repeat history all over again. So here's the question everyone is asking. Will Pooh Shiesty rise from the ashes and create one of the biggest comebacks hip-hop has ever seen? Or will he fall right back into the same traps that nearly ended his story before it even began? Time will tell. But one thing's for sure. The whole world is watching every step he takes from here on out. It's good to see him free, alive, and breathing that outside air again. Because too many don't make it that far. Let's just hope this time Pooh keeps his eyes on the music, not the mayhem, and uses his second chance to remind everyone why the game fell in love with him in the first place. Because in today's world, staying real doesn't mean risking it all. It means surviving long enough to enjoy the success you earned. Stay locked in, because this is just the beginning of Pooh Shiesty's next chapter. And you already know we'll be watching every move he makes from here on out.